I'm out in the countryside today. I think when you reach your 50s, your mid-50s in life, you do start to appreciate things differently than when you're in your 20s. Here am I, out in the beautiful Sussex countryside now, and thoroughly enjoying the calm and the nature that is all around. Occasionally I see the odd farm truck go past and the odd walker, which is reassuring, I suppose, to think that other people are also out. But it does tend to be the slightly mature person that gets out into the countryside. The young do it a little bit, and if they're sporty, perhaps they're running or they're on their bikes. But those that sort of make, I don't know, some connection with the countryside tend to be out here a lot more frequently. And I think that's because as you get older, as you mature, your life decisions, your life enjoyment changes, and suddenly the countryside, the thing that surrounds us all, the environment, becomes incredibly important. What I find amazing and worrying at the same time is how little I actually know about the countryside. Living in a town, even though it's at the edge of the South Downs and beside the sea, down on the Sussex coast in Worthing, and I've lived there for 26 years, and even though I've taken strolls over the South Downs frequently, it is surprising how little I know of nature. How little I know, for instance, the names of trees, of plants, of grasses, of insects, those things that 100, 200 years ago our ancestors, it's funny to call them ancestors because you always think of sort of distant ancestors, but yes, our ancestors would have known. They would have known what plants were useful to eat, what herbs were useful to cure diseases, what things were poisonous, what bark, for example, to immerse in hot water. Herbal remedies would have been just an everyday occurrence, and in a way I think that we've lost that, and I think that's important that we realise that we've lost it, because I think in this urban environment, this ever-increasing urban environment, we are losing touch with the real core of our nature, and that is placing your, effectively, if not literally, your bare feet into the soil. We're so lucky in Britain to have this amazing countryside. There are parts of the world that are just not green, and even in summer, even in the hottest summer, though the grass can burn out, it's still a green and pleasant land, and fortunately we have as yet not spoilt it. At least there are pockets like this in the South Downs County, what is it, the South Downs National Park. We haven't spoilt it. Fortunately, it is a place of beauty, and you can come out here and you can wander, and Britain is so very lucky to have this, and I just don't think that people really appreciate the countryside for what it is. I was in the town earlier today, and people were looking at their phones, people were arguing, they seemed harassed, they seemed, I don't know, just like the pressures of the world are on top of them, and yet within a few miles, usually within a few miles of every town, there is the countryside. I mean, we have parks, which is one thing, but the countryside itself is just somewhere where you can go and lose yourself. You can just get out here and be on your own, and I think that's very important. And as I think as you get older, as you mature in life, you do want to be on your own. Not all the time. I'm not saying that you want to be a hermit or anything like that, but you're reflective. I know I am. You might want to come with your partner and just walk quietly together, listening purely to your footsteps as you crunch along the byways and highways footpaths that swarm across this beautiful land. I'd be very interested to know where you go, what part of the world that you like to visit, to be quiet and still and at one with nature. It's so cheap to come out into the countryside. I mean, you just need a pair of walking boots and away you go, and I think that's probably why it's such a rewarding hobby. If you nip down to your local outdoor suppliers and grab your boots and perhaps a rucksack and maybe some sandwiches and a bottle of water or something, you can meander over the countryside, and in the space of 10 miles, if you're that adventurous, the scenery just changes so completely, so amazingly, so incredibly, and you can go up over dale, down hill, down yonder, up over the downs, down into some beautiful villages, thatched cottages, Victorian dwellings, old pubs. I mean, the list is endless. So my plan is to get out into the country more frequently on this video vlog and record some of the beautiful scenery, as well as some of the wonderful villages and towns and the architecture that we have, before we lose it, really. I do fear that it is possible that we are slowly encroaching on our green belt, we're encroaching on our nature, we're building more hideous monstrosities, and the British countryside and the British landscape and the British village and urban environment is drastically changing. But hopefully not too much in my lifetime, but I feel that we've got to protect this for our children and our children's children. I'll see you on the next one.